Hi, this is Otto Penzler. I'm at the Mysterious Bookshop in New York. This is my office. This is our weekly little talk about collecting, and we're doing something different this week. Yesterday was the official 42nd anniversary of the opening of the bookshop. We opened on Friday the 13th of April, 1979. So I'm using my privilege to celebrate our anniversary and celebrate the Mysterious Bookshop by, instead of picking an author, today I'm going to show you books that have been published by the Mysterious Bookshop over the course of our many years in business. I want to start with a project that I began, I don't know, 30 something years ago, where we publish, or I guess print is a better way of saying it, a story that I commission and from a writer to write a Christmas story that is set at the Mysterious Bookshop. And then we publish them in these little pamphlets. Lindsay, Ace Atkins, Megan Abbott, Laura Lippman, Andrew Clavin. The first was written by Donald Westlake, and the others have been written by Thomas H. Cook, Lawrence Block, Michael Malone, Ann Perry, Ed McBain. So it's been a long tradition. Once a year, we print these at Christmas time, and we give them as a gift, as a thank you to our customers for being our customers. And we start to hand them out the day after Thanksgiving, which I regard as the beginning of the Christmas season. I know you get catalogs from various places in August celebrating Christmas, but I wait till Thanksgiving. And one of the things that happened with this, it got into the right hands, and the first 21 of these stories was published by Vanguard. And this was published about 10 years ago. I can tell you exactly when because it has a copyright page. 2010, so 11 years ago. It's still in print, and it's one of the best-selling books in our store because it has the Mysterious Bookshop in the title, and a lot of tourists and people who aren't maybe regular customers, or people who are regular customers giving it to friends. We've probably sold somewhere between 2,000 and 3,000 copies of the book. And every year there'll be another one come November. I don't know who the author is yet, but I'm very proud of this series. Since we give them away, it hasn't exactly been the best business model that I've ever discovered, but I'm happy to do it and very proud of those stories and grateful to those authors who take the time to write a short story. The next series that we published in the bookshop is when we were losing money at a ridiculous rate. It was touch and go. We had been having a very good time in the mid 80s to the mid 90s, and then Barnes and Noble became these superstores were everywhere, carrying large quantities of books. In the early 90s, if you wanted a complete run of every book by, say, Sue Grafton or Robert B. Parker, you pretty much had to come to a mystery store, and mine was bigger than most, certainly bigger than any of the other stores in New York, and so people would have to go there. But then Barnes and Noble had plenty of shelf space because they were building huge stores, so we were struggling, and then when Amazon became big, we really struggled. So one of the things that I thought might help us would be to to produce a something that would be really interesting, that could not be bought anywhere else. And so I started commissioning a series of profiles. And what these were was, I would ask a writer to write a biography, a profile of his series character or her series character. I know I'm supposed to these days say their series character, but I have a hard time using a plural pronoun when a singular pronoun is due. Anyway, um, we've done 25 of these, and the paperbacks would we would give the paperbacks away or sell them for $1 or whatever. It was very, very nominal. But we did the hardcovers for collectors. They were limited to 100 copies in hardcover, numbered and signed by the author, and they sold for $60 each. And then we did 26 lettered copies for serious collectors, which sold for $100 each. And these were tremendously helpful to us, because you couldn't go to Barnes and Noble, you couldn't go to Amazon, you couldn't even go to another independent bookstore, because you could only get them from us. And it did convince people to come to the store. I mean, among the people who have done this, Ken Bruin wrote about Jack Taylor. Lee Child wrote about Jack Reacher. Alexander McCall Smith wrote about Precious Ramatswe. Thomas Perry wrote about Jane Whitefield. David Morrell wrote about Rambo, which was kind of stretching the definition of mystery characters or series characters, but I love the idea of doing it, and he liked writing about Rambo. Doug Preston and Lincoln Child wrote about their FBI agent, Prendergast. Stephen Hunter wrote about Bob Lee Swagger. Robert B. Parker wrote about Spencer. Michael Connolly wrote about Hieronymus Bosch. Jacqueline Winspear wrote about Maisie Dobbs. Charles Todd, Mom and Son, wrote about Ian Rutledge, their series characters, and many others. We did 25 of these, and an editor at Little Brown liked the idea so much that he collected them. And it was in a book called The Lineup. And since the publisher was only doing it as a trade paperback, we actually did it in the bookshop in a limited hardcover edition that was signed by all contributors. That book sold out really fast, and it is now selling for a vast sum on a couple of websites. You can't come to me. I don't have any. I don't have any. So if you think you can come to the source, I'm afraid you're out of luck. My next idea, and so many ideas didn't work, but my next idea about publishing in the bookshop, once again, for to have books that were available only through us, was a series that I called Biblio Mysteries. We have now done 39 in this series. And we did the same thing, where we published paperbacks. Here's Nelson DeMille's paperback. Sells for $6.95. Anne Perry. This is only $4.95. This is when I didn't realize how expensive they were to make. And I think we were just kind of breaking even on these, which was not the best publishing program that anybody ever came up with. I know you're supposed to love all your children equally, and I do, but I love this one the most, I have to admit. John Connolly's story just blew me away when I read it. I was so thrilled that he wrote it for us, and it wound up winning the Edgar as the best short story of the year. Once again, we did 100 copies in hardcover, numbered and signed. Here's Megan Abbott. Megan was nominated for the Best Short Story of the Year for this story, too. And this is what the limitation pages looked like. So that was Megan. Then we did James Grady, his series character, the Condor. Also numbered and signed. And these sold for $50 each. There's a price in the corner. The profiles didn't have dust jackets. They were produced without jackets, but we thought these were pretty cool, and so we decided to use these colorful jackets, which I think are handsome design on a pretty regular basis. Ian Rankin wrote one. Many of the hardcovers, by the way, have sold out, both in numbered and lettered copies. R.L. Stine wrote an adult story. You know, everybody has read him when they were 7, but here's an adult novel. He's very wacky. He's a wacky writer. It's just great. Also, one of the funniest human beings you'll ever meet. He also does stand-up from time to time, and has done for about 40 years. Lindsay Fay is one of the few Sherlock Holmes books in the series. She wrote that for it. C.J. Box was one of the first people to agree to do this. Jeffrey Deaver, Laura Lipman, Thomas Perry. You see, we go to some of the same people over and over again. They're friends of the store, friends of mine, and good writers, and who like writing short stories. There are a lot of writers who simply don't like to write stories, or they can't. It's a very different skill set, writing a good short story from writing a novel. It seems insane to me, because I think if I had to write a piece of fiction, I think I could manage maybe to write a short story. A novel, it's totally hopeless. I think it's miraculous what they do. And once again, because these stories are so good, they were collected. Pegasus Books did a collection of the first 15. It's a pretty fat book because the stories are not short. They're short stories, but they're not short stories. So they did a book called Biblio Mysteries, and they came up with a sequel with a really fascinating title. It's called Biblio Mysteries 2. In England, it was and then it was sold to England, and had a new title, and this is the first 15 stories, and it's called Death Sentences. You wouldn't know that I was the editor, because Ian Rankin wrote a new introduction for it, and he's a massive bestseller in England, just as he's a very successful writer here. So his name got a lot more prominence than mine did. Understandably, I have to say. Finally, projects that I am so proud of and love doing so much in the store. Limited editions in very, very handsome editions. This is our limited edition series. And they look like this, with marbled boards, red leather spine, limited to 100 numbered copies. And they tend to generally be, let me just move this for a second and show you. This is what the numbered copies look like. They're in blue cloth. And this is true for most of our books. Marbled boards with a leather spine. Limitation page. This is James Elroy. This one is actually kind of special because it was the only printed edition. It was written as an Amazon short story, The Hilliker Curse, and it was published only in paperback, as I recall. Maybe not for Amazon, maybe it was for Random House or Knopf, but only in paperback. So we did the only hardcover edition of that book. So those are the numbered copies that look like that. And the lettered copies, 26 lettered copies, are generally done in red cloth. This is Benjamin Black, who you know maybe more famously as John Banville. And we've done a lot of these books. We've got 2 or 3 a year. We don't overdo it. There's The Hillico Curse by Elroy again. There's Lawrence Block, The Night and the Music, which is, I think, just a lovely title. It sounds like a Cornell Woolrich title. Robert Craze, we did The Promise. We've done several books with Robert Craze, numbered and lettered. The numbered copy, I mean, these are expensive. First of all, they're expensive to make, but trust me on that. But also, they're very expensive. They're really designed for collectors. There are trade editions of most of these books. Of course, 100,000 copies or however many these best-selling writers have printed. But we do this for collectors that are very special, limited to only 100 copies or 26. The numbered copies sell for $150, and the lettered copies sell for $275. This is a short story collection. We've done a few of these. We did it for Agents of Treachery, a book that I did for Random House that was only in paperback. And we did it for the store. This also we did this, it was I can't remember if it was a hardcover or a paperback, but we did a limited edition, and the edited by Jonathan Santlofer and S.J. Roseanne. But I love the idea of this story collection so much that we did a limited edition and had every author sign every copy. So there's Lawrence Block, Lee Child, Michael Connolly, James Grady, Jonathan Lethem, Laura Lipman, Patrick McCabe, Joyce Carol Oates, Jonathan Santlofer, Edmund White, and The Dark End of the Street. So just a favorite in the store. Michael Connolly. We have now done at least 8 titles with Michael Connolly. When a new book comes out, we go to the publisher and we make an agreement. So we pay the publisher, which is Little Brown in Mike's case. We pay them for the rights to do this, and then we publish our own edition. We use much better paper. Again, 100 copies, numbered and signed. And that's the numbered copies, and that's the lettered copy. Most of the lettered copies that we've done with Mike have sold out. With Lee Child, we did something a little different. I love the Jack Reacher series, and I approached Lee about doing a collector's edition of the complete Jack Reacher, if he would write a new introduction to every book. And he agreed. So we do these. I said, you pick the color that you would like, and he wanted green. Since Reacher is an ex-MP in the Army, the green seemed like a choice that Jack Reacher would be pleased with. And so it's green marble boards with green leather spine for the numbered copies, only 100. And then we decided to do black for the lettered copies. And again, these are the same prices. This one is lettered P for Penzler, but that's a coincidence, I promise you. And Lee has taken the trouble to write a terrific introduction for every one of these books, mainly about where he was, what inspired the book, and so on. And I think we're up to number 16 in the series. A beautiful series that I'm very proud to publish. So that's Mysterious Bookshop Publishing. We're not just a bookshop.